A blue post just went live detailing more Havoc Demon Hunter tuning, and today I'll give you guys my thoughts on it. Before we get to that though, a lot of my viewers aren't subscribed, so if you're watching this and you like the content, consider hitting subscribe. I'll have tons of great content coming through at Dragonflight and beyond, and it won't cost you anything and really help me out. Anyways, with that, enjoy the video. Alright, so we're back, and obviously if I'm on Wowhead, it means one of a few things. I'm talking about talent trees, or Havoc has been nerfed again, and if you read the Wowhead article title, or just looked at the top of the screen right here, Havoc DH nerfs, we have more nerfs hot off the presses. These nerfs are set to go live on November 29th, which is the day after Dragonflight launches. So if you're leveling on Monday night, you are going to not have these nerfs applied to you, which is really funny. But realistically, you're not going to really notice it. So these nerfs, napkin math, hitting between 5 to 10%. Obviously, 5 to 10% is a pretty big range. It could be less than that, could be earlier than that. This video, being put out pretty soon after these, the post was made. You can guys see here 4 minutes ago. So, things can change, of course, but going off early napkin math, 5 to 10%. We'll get into what happened. I'll give my thoughts on it. I'll tell you guys, how this leaves us. Realistically, don't be afraid. Don't be worried. You probably won't really feel these nerfs. It's going to bring us down a little bit, but these are more kind of future-proofing nerfs than they are for anything else. But let's get into it, that out of the way. So we'll scroll down here. We have, as I said here, working on a slate of tuning adjustments for several classes that applied to November 29th. I wouldn't be surprised if these are not the last tuning changes we receive. They've been pretty committed to coming in and doing tuning up until the release of the raid and even further after that. So don't be surprised if we have another video like this, but this is kind of our last probable tuning change before Dragonflight launches. So this is how we'll be launching on Tuesday. So with the first actual reset when M0 is everything open. We'll get into it. So Demon Hunter, just Havoc, no Vengeance changes today. So Burning Wound, Immolation, or Burning Wound, Immolation, Aura damage bonus reduced to 40% was 50%. Now, Burning Wound has kind of ping-ponged all around the bonuses everywhere. It's gone up, it's gone down. This is not that bad. So Burning Wound originally was like 35%, but it was you could apply it to multiple targets, but you don't ever get 3. Then it was capped to 3 and put up to like 45%, then it went to 50, then it went to 40, then it went to 45 or something. It's ping-ponged up and down around 40% and 50%. You're not really going to notice this change. Realistically, since you can only have 3 of them out, obviously on 3 targets, you're going to notice it because you'll have 100% uptime of hitting all of them and your Rage Fire will be less. But in a big AoE pack, just with how Rage Fire works, just with how Immolation Aura works, yeah, you're getting more damage to 3 targets that your glaive randomly hits, but this isn't really going to feed into your Rage Fire that much because Rage Fire just takes the first 3 crits. So the chances of Rage Fire actually critting on those Burning Wound targets isn't going to be that big. This is probably not too big of a change. It's roughly maybe 3%, maybe less than that, but it's not that big of a deal. 10% to Burning Wound means that Immolation Aura is going to do 10% less to 3 targets whenever you have that talent. And in single target, you don't really take these. You don't really take this talent at all, so that's not that big of a deal. Really, not going to notice that. The next 2 are a little more interesting. Now, these are kind of here as a future-proofing, if you will, while also kind of hitting us right now. Now, throughout all of the last nerf videos that I've done, I've talked about how, oh yeah, we're nerfed, but they haven't hit our scaling, we're still gonna be really good, yada, yada, yada. Well, they finally hit our scaling. Now, for those of you, who don't know, maybe a little bit newer to Demon Hunter, Havoc for a long time has not scaled with anything. We basically just scaled with haste because it gave us a shorter GCD and thus more I-beams because of like cycle or something like that. And one of our biggest complaints about the class is that we just didn't scale with stats. We'd have to just be compensatory buffed every patch just in order to keep up with some of those classes that did scale with stats, and we get more stats and wouldn't really be that big of a damage increase. So they gave us the 2 talents, Know Your Enemy and Any Means Necessary. Know Your Enemy giving us crit scaling and Any Means Necessary giving us mastery scaling, as well as them just making our mastery better. And that kind of made it so that we are more able to scale off of those stats. Now they come in and they've reduced the effectiveness of this. So we've come in here and Know Your Enemy, critical damage bonus reduced to 40-80% of your critical strike chance was 50-100%. And Any Means Necessary damage bonus for affected skills reduced to 80% of your mastery was 100%. So what this means is that we're going to scale 20% less from critical strike and mastery. This is not the end of the world for Season 1. However, this will nerf us going into Season 2, 3, and 4. And beyond that, as long as these talents stick around. Basically, with the amount of stats we were getting in Season 1, you weren't really going to feel Know Your Enemy or Any Means Necessary that much. Obviously, it was going to be powerful. But because we're in the first tiering of gear, there is a cap on how much you can actually get affected by these scalings, you know, like there's only so much mastery you can get, there's only so much critical strike you can get. So the cap, so to speak, on these talents was relatively low, and they weren't super powerful. Obviously, they were still some of our better ones. You know, Any Means Necessary is a capstone. Know Your Enemy is on the way to Essence Break. We were going to take both of them in basically every AoE scenario, with Know Your Enemy coming in and also in single target. We were only going to take Any Means Necessary in ST, but whatever. So they've come through and they've changed it. So what Know Your Enemy does now, let's say you have 40% crit, that means your crits are going to do 232% instead of 240%. So it won't be a 1-to-1, it'll be 20% less. Now, realistically, that's still really powerful. You know, having your crits do 232% damage instead of 240%, while it is an 8% reduction, is still a very strong talent node that is still basically a 32% damage increase on whenever you crit. And with a 40% critical strike, that means that 40% of the time, or even more, because of how often we you know, hit stuff, 40% of the time you're going to get 32% increased damage. That's still really powerful. Any Means Necessary, the same thing. You know, if you had 60% mastery, instead of just having your stuff do 60% more damage, it's now going to do 80% of that, so it'd be 20% less of that. So it's going to be less damage overall, but of course, you know, it's still going to be a strong talent. It's not like you're going to just lose out on everything. It's like, oh, you know, we lost 12% of the damage from Any Means Necessary. Well, yes, you did lose 12%, but you're still gaining 48% from it, right? These are still strong independent talents. Really what they're coming in and doing here is making it so that we don't scale as hard in later patches, really with crit and mastery scaling both, and us just probably taking both in any AoE scenario, maybe even at single target if we get enough, you know, mastery or whatever. What they've done is they made it so that in later patches we won't need to be nerfed again, or maybe we will, who knows, but we won't need to be nerfed again because of these like turbo scaling with all these things. Like imagine in a world where we had 100% crit, like hypothetically, right, with the old Know Your Enemy. 100% crit means we crit all the time, and all of our crits do 300% damage. What that means is that 100% of the time we're doing 100% more damage, and that is crazy. So at this rate, now, you know, if we ever get 100% crit, which is a weird hypothetical number, we'll only be doing 80% more damage. So, you know, really put that in perspective. 80% versus 100%, yes, it's a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, for 2 talent points, that's a big upgrade. Same with Any Means Necessary. You know, instead of doing whatever, I don't know how much mastery you get. I think on live I have like 66% mastery right now, or something like that. So it's roughly like 14% mastery, like damage I'm losing. But like 66% mastery in live gear, level 60 gear, you could get easily above 100 mastery, right? So that's a pretty big increase to those abilities. And in future tiers, when you have just a ton of stats in your gear, it's going to be even crazier. So these are kind of tone us down. You're not really going to feel these. It's going to bring us down, but we have a lot of damage to lose before we lose it on our spot, where I think we're going to be in the meta. I think we're going to be very powerful still. We'll see how we scale into future patches now. But realistically, these are small turning nerfs. They're roughly 6 to 10%. We'll probably shoot around 7. I've seen high estimates. I've seen lower estimates, but probably around 7. Which again, you know, we have that room to lose. Really, we do. And, you know, we don't even have that high gear on beta. You know, we get scaled down. So the numbers you've seen on beta aren't even indicative of what, you know, live could be like. Like, we could go higher than that. In single target, barely touched. Burning Wound wasn't taken. Any Means Necessary wasn't taken. Yeah, your crits are going to do less now, just through Know Your Enemy and I-Beam and all that stuff. But in single target, it's like a few percentage points at most in the first tier for a nerf. So overall, I do think Havoc's in a good spot still. You know, nerfs suck. Nerfs always suck, but don't go Dev's bad, Havoc dead. Havoc is not dead. We are very far ahead still in AoE. We're still very good in cleave. We were not effectively not touched at all in single target from these nerfs. What they're doing is they're just coming in. They're kind of future-proofing stuff. They're turning us down a little bit because realistically, you know, you can't look at Havoc and think, oh yeah, we're fine, because we are just far and away probably the best DPS spec for M+ in terms of damage. So overall, I'm still happy with Havoc, with where Havoc is. You're not going to feel these nerfs. They're not nerfs you're going to feel, not yet anyways, with the stats we have. But in the future, you will feel a little weaker than you would have hypothetically. But of course, because we'll never hit that future, you're not going to notice it really. So, you know, nerfs suck. We're worse now, but Havoc is still very good. I'm still excited to play with it. The class still plays the same. It's still very fun. And, you know, we're just a little bit worse now. We brought down a little bit. We'll see what happens whenever, you know, the Season 1 goes live. But for now, I'm still pretty hopeful. I'm still pretty excited, and I think it's going to be fun. That's it for today. I want to get this video out pretty quick, just to give you guys an update on what's happening with Havoc. You know, try and calm people down maybe, because it's not really the end of the world. But, yeah, that's that. I'm excited for Monday for Dragonflight launch. I'll be streaming it. I'll be trying to hit 70 first day, so come check that out. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Comment down below your thoughts on these nerfs. You know, do you think Havoc's dead? I personally don't think Havoc's dead. I still think we have a long way to go before that happens. But, you know, whatever, let me know. And if you enjoyed it, hit the sub button. Have a good day, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.